So let's just start with the BA.2 variant. Okay. So first of all, why are we talking about this? And then I'll tell you what it is. You're talking about this because this is a variant of Omicron that we have started seeing literally crop up throughout the world. It is in literally 49 different countries. This variant is also in the United States. I know many of you live in parts of the country where you have heard that this variant already is. Let me know, by the way, in the comments if you are seeing cases of the BA.2 Omicron variant in your region, like in your neighborhoods where you live and things like that. Okay. Interestingly enough, this subvariant was actually detected first in November. I didn't actually realize that. So it's been something that's sort of been around for a while. But the question is, what is it? We know about variants. You guys are scientists probably at this point because of all this science we've been talking about. The BA.2 variant is basically a subvariant or sublineage of the original Omicron variant, which is BA.1. Okay, so it's like a sub. So you got COVID. Underneath, you got like over here, like indented, you got Omicron, and then upon Omicron, you got this BA.2 variant, which is a sub lineage sub variant of the original Omicron one, which I think is very interesting. And so what is said about that is that, remember Omicron, the original Omicron has a lot of mutations in the spike protein and things like that. BA.2 also has a number of changes in its spike protein as well. The thing about it is that the BA.2 variant of Omicron has small variations that differentiate from the original Omicron, but they're not different enough or enough to give it its own lineage, like its own variant name. Does that make sense? So BA.2 is a little bit different from BA.1, the original Omicron, but it's not different enough to give it its own platform, etc. So it's a subvariant or sublineage, which I think is really, really interesting. You should know, by the way, guys, that right now the World Health Organization is not calling this a variant of concern, which is very important because, of course, that's sort of our threshold for other things and other, like revving up into high gear. But we are watching this variant very closely. Okay. So now let me go back to some more information. I did mention that we've got 49 countries throughout the world that are seeing this subvariant, sublineage. And I should say Denmark in particular. You guys might have heard about some of the European countries and others. Denmark has basically been overtaken by this new variant. First of all, it was the original Omicron, the BA.1, but then there's been a lot of BA.2 variant that's come up. It's estimated that about 50% of the cases in Denmark are this new sublineage subvariant BA.2. So that brings us to, well, do we worry about this? Which is ultimately what I know you want to know and what's really relevant here, right? We've been through hell and back the last couple of years. Let's just call a spade a spade. And what you're wondering is, as I am, is this, oh my gosh, here we go again? Like, what are we getting ready for? What do we need to prepare for? Remember, Delta was more severe, caused a lot of hospitalizations, people dying, etc. Omicron was not literally as severe, but there were so many more cases and it was so highly transmissible that we're still seeing people in the hospital. And there's a severity that's associated with that, with the sheer numbers, right? So you're saying with this BA.2, what do we got to get ready for here? Well, Fauci actually was on CNN this evening, and I'm going to tell you some of the things that he said because, of course, I value what his opinion is as well as give you some other data. What he says is that he feels that this BA.2 lineage, sublineage, likely has a transmission advantage. Once again, that kind of means it may be more transmissible, which, by the way, if we're comparing it to original Omicron, that's kind of transmissible because remember, Omicron was like zipping around like everywhere, right? So he says there is likely a transmission advantage. He talked a little bit about what's happening in Denmark where, BA.2, this new sublineage, has sort of overtaken the original Omicron. So when that happens, it lets us know that, hey, there must be some advantage to this BA.2, meaning if it's able to spread and overtake the original Omicron, then it's spreadable, right? For whatever reasons. It is created an environment. It has an environment. There's something about it that allows it to overtake the original Omicron. What's important that Fauci said this evening, and other reports are saying this too, it's not just him, but I just happen to be quoting him right now, is that it doesn't appear that this sublineage of Omicron is any more severe. Now, guys, that is super, super, super important because that is huge, right? The last thing we need is a variant that's not only more transmissible, potentially, as it seems it might be, but also more deadly. We don't need that. Uh, but as of course we are watching this. Okay, so the bottom line, according to Fauci and other sources, is that yes, this sublineage subvariant may be, and I say may be because it's suspected that it may be more transmissible, but we can't say, we can't lock it in stone that that's the case, because as you know, we have to study these things. We have to give it a little bit of time. So it may be more transmissible, and in some situations it appears that way. But it does not appear to be more severe at this time. However, we have to watch and wait and see and kind of see what's happening and what will happen over time. Once again, to reiterate, we've got about 49 countries throughout the world that have this variant. We've got a number of states in the United States that are starting to pop up with cases. It'll be interesting to see if this continues to spread in the states and at what rate, how fast it spreads, et cetera, and then what that does to our hospitalizations. Do people actually start getting hospitalized more? Do they start getting sicker more? Things like that. Let me jump to tell you a few other things though that I know you're going to wonder about, and I thought was very interesting. Okay, so you guys have probably seen and heard in the news that it's referred to as the stealth Omicron, stealth, like STEALTH, stealth Omicron. And that sounds really ominous. Like that sounds like, ooh, stealth Omicron. Oh my God, that's horrible, right? That doesn't sound really good. But just to explain, it's been referred to as stealth Omicron, not because it's difficult to detect, because actually researchers anticipate that we are able to detect that on our tests that we have. But so it's not that. What it implies is that this BA.2 sublineage subvariant does not have a genetic quirk that the original Omicron has, BA.1, that really helped a lot of scientists and researchers quickly identify Omicron on PCR tests. So it's like a little genetic quirk that allowed us to sort of identify it more quickly on PCR. That's why they call it stealth Omicron. Okay, so don't be alarmed by the fact that it's called stealth Omicron. Don't think like, oh my gosh, this is the end of days, blah 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 blah. It's stealth Omicron. It does sound ominous. Okay, so that's where we are right now. Now, what we should keep in mind, though, is a couple of things. Remember when we used to talk about Delta Plus? I did some videos on Delta Plus variant because when we were dealing with Delta, then there was this Delta Plus that came up. But that kind of, I don't know if it totally fizzled because I'm not tracking all the variants like the World Health Organization, the CDC is. But we haven't heard anything about Delta Plus. My point being is that this BA.2 variant may do what I suspect happened with Delta Plus and others in the past, which is that they may fizzle out. They may kind of, and then it kind of, which would be great if they just. And if you're wondering, why in the world do we keep having these variants? Why does this keep happening? Because in many ways, it does, in my opinion, keep us in this state of like, I don't want to say panic. It doesn't keep us in a state of panic, but it certainly does keep us in this state of like, oh no, what's next? Like almost like we're on guard. At least I feel like that. And you wouldn't be alone if you felt like that. We have to remember that we will likely have variants for as long as we have so many people unvaccinated with the COVID vaccine and so many people getting COVID. What I mean by that is that the way that you stop variants of a virus is you stop the virus from spreading, period. As long as the virus can spread, it will create variants and variations of itself. That's what they do. So until we get more people vaccinated, and I'm not just talking about people in the United States, I'm talking about people throughout the world. We've got a lot of the world that is highly unvaccinated. Until we get people around the world vaccinated, until we can shut down COVID the way we need to be able to, we're going to see variants. The way to stop variants is to stop transmission, period. So long as COVID's allowed to roam sort of freely throughout the country, so to speak, and around the world, we will see variants. It's one of the reasons why we keep saying get vaccinated, right? It's not just for all the reasons I've said ad nauseum over and over for the last 2 years. I'm not going to bore you with those right now. You got all my other videos to see that. And it's not just that. It's also that one of the ways that we get out of this and we end this is that we stop transmission. of COVID. Stopping transmission of COVID means most all of us being vaccinated, getting to herd immunity, getting the world vaccinated. And with that also comes sort of the stopping and the halting of variants. But as long as there's a large number of people unvaccinated and the virus continues to spread, we will have variants. And that's a shame because I know that it's stressful. I know that it keeps you on edge. It keeps me on edge. And, I hope that we don't have to keep having, videos like this a lot, but we will until we're more vaccinated, until we can stop this in its tracks. Okay. So that's my reminder for us to get vaccinated. If you have not, get vaccinated. It's not too late. If this is your first vaccine, you're going for your first, you know what? I'm just happy you're going. If you've gotten your booster, I always ask you guys to write in the comments. If you've gotten your booster, please put your favorite emoji in the comments. Let me know. Because by you showing your support for vaccines and boosters really helps other people who are watching. I know many of you guys might have needle phobias, or maybe you've been told you can't get the vaccine or the booster, or maybe you're just afraid to, or just have a lot of questions. You should consider joining my group called I Got the COVID Vaccine. That's on Facebook. I actually have in the description of this video on YouTube, I've got the link directly. And then on Facebook, there's a pinned comment. Please join. I'll accept you guys right afterwards. The point is to help us through this, because the way we all get through this is that we all get through together doing our parts. So just to recap, once again, the BA.2, we still got a lot more to learn, but according to Fauci and other sources, it seems as though this variant, which is a sublineage subvariant of the Omicron, may be more highly transmissible, but doesn't appear to be more deadly. Okay. It does have small variations that in the spike protein that differentiates it from the original Omicron, the BA.1, but not enough variations to give it its own variant name, right? So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens here in the States. We'll have to see what continues to happen in places like Denmark and other places where this sublineage is really, really increasing. So this is where we're at, guys. I will certainly keep you updated every single day as we go along. We are getting more and more. This is another thing I want to mention, that in recent days, we've gotten more and more data about COVID boosters and about how effective they are. And for Omicron in general, we know that you really need to get the booster to give you that extra protection against Omicron. Okay. So if you got the 2 doses of your, for example, mRNA vaccines, you really got to get the booster. Okay. I don't even consider the booster optional at this point, because to have solid protection, you really need to get that. The good thing about that is at least we have a booster to give that gives us that protection. So try to look at it on the bright side. I know it's a pain in the to have to get boosters, and you wish you didn't. And I wish I didn't. I got my booster a couple months ago and I wish I didn't have to get it. But what I was grateful for and am grateful for now is the fact that there is a booster to be gotten to help increase that protection. Okay. We're going to keep it short today. I hope this is helpful. I'll keep updating you about the BA.2 variant. Remember, for those of you on Facebook, consider joining my subscription group, Dr. Jen Superstars, for private lives and exclusive content. I also have a subscription group on YouTube, guys. You can join that as well. For those of you who have not subscribed to my channel or liked and followed my Facebook page, please do. For those of you on Facebook who send stars, I so appreciate you. And those on YouTube sending super chats and super stickers, I see you. I'll respond to you all personally after this video. And just join my group called I Got the COVID Vaccine, and sign up for my free health newsletter at drjanecaudle.com. I will keep you updated. Hang in there. Get your vaccines. Get your boosters, guys. I love you. Stay safe, okay? Bye. Bye, YouTubers. See you.